The night is stormy, thunder rolling over the city as a bolt of lightning strikes in the distance, illuminating the mansion perched on a hill. Inside, the vast, lavish estate is eerily quiet. The camera zooms through the mansion, showcasing the ornate furniture and priceless art adorning the walls. This is a life of luxury, opulence, and power. But tonight, everything changes. The view shifts to the study, a grand room filled with leather-bound books and framed portraits. Richard Montgomery, a well-known billionaire businessman, lies motionless on the floor. His eyes are wide open, his mouth slightly agape, as blood pools around him. The room is in disarray, papers scattered across the desk, chairs knocked over, and a single revolver lying beside his body. His hand is barely touching the gun. Lily Montgomery, his wife, standing at the center of the chaos. Her hands are covered in blood, her face pale and trembling. She looks down at her hands as if she's seeing them for the first time. Confusion, fear, and guilt swirl in her eyes, but the question remains, did she kill her husband? Lily is in shock, her breath shallow as she stumbles backwards, collapsing against the wall. She barely remembers what happened. The last thing she recalls is being in bed, hearing an argument downstairs, then nothing. The 911 call, a cold, mechanical voice cuts through the tension as Lily dials 911, her hands shaking uncontrollably. 911, what's your emergency? Lily struggles to speak, her words choked with panic. I found him. He's dead. My husband. I didn't do it. I don't know what happened. The dispatcher tries to calm her down, but her voice cracks. She's in no state to answer the officer's questions. The only thing she repeats is, I didn't do it, I swear. The arrival of the police. The scene cuts to flashing red and blue lights as multiple police cars pull up to the mansion. Officers rush inside, weapons drawn, taking in the scene. They find Lily sitting on the floor, her hands still covered in blood, her eyes wide and vacant. They immediately arrest her, not as a suspect, but as a prime witness. The media arrives quickly, cameras flashing, reporters yelling questions. The mansion becomes a media circus, with every outlet speculating on the shocking crime. Is Lily Montgomery a cold-blooded killer, or is she just another victim in a twisted tale of betrayal? The police report, Detective Sarah Drake, a no-nonsense investigator known for her quick mind and unyielding determination, arrives at the scene. She's calm under pressure, surveying the room, looking for inconsistencies in the crime scene. The first thing she notices, the position of the body. Richard Montgomery wasn't just shot, he was executed. He didn't see it coming. No signs of a struggle. The blood splatter pattern tells her Richard didn't die instantly, he fought back. But there's no sign of any defensive wounds on Lily. She's covered in blood, yes, but not in a way that fits with the crime scene. The gun, the most obvious piece of evidence, is too convenient, almost planted. The biggest red flag, Lily's fingerprints are not on the gun. In fact, no one's fingerprints are on the weapon. The gun is clean. The victim's secrets. As Sarah starts to question those close to Richard, she uncovers a shocking reality. Richard Montgomery wasn't just a successful businessman, he was hiding a web of secrets, from his shady investments in illegal enterprises to an affair with a business partner. Richard's life was full of deceit. As Sarah digs deeper, she learns that Richard was involved in money laundering schemes, blackmail, and a criminal syndicate. But the questions keep mounting. If Richard was involved in so many illegal dealings, why was his wife so clueless? Did she really not know about her husband's darker side? And what was Richard's real relationship with Lily? The public's perception. While Sarah's investigation unfolds behind the scenes, the world outside the courtroom begins to form its own opinion. The public has already made up its mind. Lily Montgomery is guilty. But as Sarah starts to piece together the details, she begins to wonder, what if Lily's arrest was part of a much larger game? What if she's just a pawn in a powerful scheme? As the media frenzy intensifies, Sarah receives a mysterious tip-off. From an unknown source, the truth is darker than you think. The message is cryptic, but it hints at a bigger conspiracy that could change everything Sarah thought she knew about the case, the first clue to a larger conspiracy. The real twist comes when Sarah receives a confidential file from an anonymous source, a hidden affair, evidence that suggests Richard Montgomery was involved in dealings that not only put his life at risk, but also endanger the lives of those around him. The tip hints that the crime scene wasn't just a robbery gone wrong. It was something far more planned, with more people involved. Lily might have been set up to take the fall, but the question remains, who is pulling the strings? The camera opens on Detective Sarah Drake walking into her office, where a mountain of case files lies waiting for her. The noise of the city hums faintly outside the window, but inside, her focus is razor sharp. She knows this case could make or break her career. However, there's something about Lily Montgomery's situation that doesn't sit right with her. As Sarah goes through the files on Richard Montgomery's life, his business empire, his infidelities, and his criminal connections, she begins to piece together a portrait of a man who wasn't just wealthy, but deeply involved in shady dealings. Lily's testimony. Sarah meets with Lily Montgomery in a private interrogation room. Lily is distraught, her hands trembling as she tries to recall the night of the murder. Her eyes are hollow from the lack of sleep, and her voice shakes. "I didn't do it. I swear, I don't know what happened. One moment I was upstairs, then I heard the shouting. Then nothing." Lily's account of the night is fragmented, but one detail keeps nagging at Sarah: Lily's initial reaction. When she was arrested, Lily seemed utterly confused, almost too confused. How could someone be so disoriented, so unaware of their surroundings after such a traumatic event? Something feels off about her version of events, the gun, evidence, or setup. Sarah decides to start with the weapon, the gun. The revolver found at the crime scene is a crucial piece of evidence. The police report says the gun belonged to Richard Montgomery, but it's too neat, too perfect. There are no fingerprints on the weapon at all, not even Richard's. Sarah enlists the help of a forensics expert, Dr. Alastair Miller, to conduct a second analysis. The results are staggering. The gun wasn't just wiped clean, it had been deliberately handled by someone with gloves, and not just anyone, but someone familiar with crime scenes. This isn't a spur-of-the-moment attack, it's the work of a professional. The security footage, a missing Hornext. Sarah turns her attention to the mansion's security footage. The police have already sifted through it, but there's a problem. An entire hour of footage is missing, right before the murder occurred. The footage stops at 9:30 p.m., and when it resumes, Richard's body is already found. Sarah can't ignore the glaring hole. Someone tampered with the cameras, but who? And why would they go to such lengths to erase a specific time frame? After digging through the mansion's security logs, Sarah finds something peculiar: a remote access entry. The system had been accessed from an external device at 9 p.m. on the night of the murder. Someone with knowledge of the system had gained entry and shut down the cameras remotely. This points to someone in the inner circle, someone who knew how to cover their tracks, the shadowy figure who entered the mansion. Sarah's persistence begins to pay off when a key piece of footage emerges: a shadowy figure entering the mansion at 9:15 p.m. This figure isn't visible on the main cameras, but is captured by a secondary motion sensor placed near the back door. The figure is dressed in dark clothes, their face obscured. They walk calmly through the back entrance, as though they've done it before. This isn't a burglar. This person has a purpose, using a mix of security footage, city street cameras, and local records. Sarah tracks down the shadowy figure to Vincent Hawke, a longtime business associate of Richard Montgomery. Vincent's name keeps popping up in the records. He was involved in the same shady business dealings, and there were rumors of a secret meeting between him and Richard earlier that week. The affair and the blackmail. More secrets uncovered as Sarah digs deeper into Richard's personal life. She learns about his affair with his business partner, Maya Goldstein, a ruthless entrepreneur who ran an international real estate empire. Their relationship was not just sexual, it was business-driven, with both of them siphoning money from Richard's company to fund illegal enterprises. But the affair wasn't Richard's only skeleton in the closet. Maya Goldstein was also involved in blackmailing Richard, using compromising information to control him. Sarah's investigation reveals that Richard Montgomery was afraid of what Maya might expose if he didn't comply with her demands. But the biggest bombshell comes from Lily's own testimony. She tells Sarah about a phone call she overheard between Richard and Maya a few days before his death. Richard was about to expose everything, including his dealings with Vincent Hawke, and it seemed like he was preparing to end both his marriage and his business partnerships, a hidden conspiracy. Sarah begins to connect the dots, and the picture becomes clearer. Richard's murder wasn't about money, it was about power. He was going to blow the lid off a criminal network that reached further than anyone had suspected. Vincent Hawke, once a trusted friend, was now a prime suspect. The blackmail and betrayal were part of a much larger conspiracy, and someone had been trying to silence Richard before he could speak out. But as Sarah gets closer to the truth, she's met with resistance from all angles. Her superiors push for a quick conviction of Lily. Despite the mounting evidence against Hawke, the media is already in full support of Lily's guilt, and pressure mounts to close the case quickly. The confession, or is it? In a shocking turn, Maya Goldstein comes forward with an unexpected confession. She admits to having an affair with Richard, but she claims that she was in love with him and didn't want him to leave her. She tells Sarah that Richard had planned to ruin both her and Vincent's reputations, and that she had nothing to do with the murder. But Sarah's instincts tell her this is just another lie. Maya's confession feels too rehearsed, and there's something in her eyes that makes Sarah uneasy. The suspense builds. As Sarah connects all the pieces, she realizes that the true mastermind behind the murder has yet to be revealed. It's not just about Lily. The people pulling the strings are far more dangerous and powerful than anyone could have anticipated. And Sarah is about to learn that, in a world of lies and betrayal, the truth might be more elusive than she ever imagined. The courtroom opens. The scene opens with a wide shot of the courtroom, the atmosphere thick with tension. The media frenzy is in full swing outside, but inside, the stakes are higher than ever. Lily Montgomery stands at the defendant's table, a mixture of fear and determination in her eyes. Her hands are still slightly trembling, but there's a newfound resolve in her posture. She's about to face the fight of her life. The defense team, led by Jake Carter, stands beside her. Jake is a sharp, charismatic attorney, known for his aggressive tactics in the courtroom. He's confident, but even he knows this case will be a war. On the other side, prosecutor Allison Green, a woman with a reputation for ruthless efficiency, is already laying the groundwork for a case she believes is as straightforward as they come. Lily killed her husband. The judge calls the court to order, and the battle begins. The prosecution's case. Allison Green, the prosecutor, steps forward with her opening statement. She's polished, methodical, and confident. She wastes no time, diving straight into the argument that Lily Montgomery is the cold-blooded killer of her husband, Richard Montgomery. The facts are clear, she says, her voice unwavering. Lily was found at the crime scene, covered in her husband's blood, holding the gun that ended his life. The defense will tell you stories of conspiracy, blackmail, and intrigue. But let me be clear, none of that matters. She lists the evidence, Lily's presence at the scene, the fingerprints on the gun or lack thereof, and the damning 911 call, where Lily's voice trembles in panic but never once denies her guilt. It's a classic case of rage, of betrayal gone too far. The jury listens intently, their expression skeptical but attentive. Green is relentless. She paints Lily as a woman pushed to the edge by her husband's affairs and her own crumbling marriage, using the media frenzy to paint a picture of a woman scorned who finally snapped. The defense's strategy. Jake Carter, Lily's defense attorney, rises with a smooth confidence that immediately contrasts with the prosecutor's attack. He begins by turning to the jury, offering them a personal appeal. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Jake starts, his tone calm and persuasive. You've heard the prosecution's story. You've heard them lay out their evidence, but now, I ask you to open your minds to consider the truth. What if the evidence they presented is not the whole story? What if Lily Montgomery is not guilty of murder, but instead, a victim of a conspiracy she never saw coming? He then focuses on the missing hour of footage from the security cameras, the tampered evidence, and the lack of fingerprints on the gun. He paints a picture of a woman who walked into a nightmare, someone who had no idea of the betrayal brewing around her. He introduces new evidence, Maya Goldstein's confession, and most crucially, the mysterious shadowy figure seen entering the mansion, later identified as Vincent Hawke, Richard's business partner. This man, Jake continues, his voice rising, was the real architect of this crime. A man who had everything to gain from Richard's death and nothing to lose by framing his wife. Jake works the jury, slowly pulling them toward his narrative. Lily Montgomery is not the killer. She is the pawn in a much larger scheme, the bombshell witness. Maya Goldstein's confession just when it seems like the defense is losing ground. Maya Goldstein, Richard's former lover and business partner, takes the stand as a key witness. The courtroom is silent as she walks to the witness stand, her eyes cold and calculating. Jake Carter knows this is a risky move, but it's his only shot to shift the tides. Maya's confession is explosive. She admits to having an affair with Richard, and even more shocking, she confesses that she and Vincent Hawke were working together to control Richard's wealth and influence. Richard was going to ruin everything. Maya says, her voice trembling with a mixture of guilt and bitterness, he was going to expose us all. But I didn't kill him. I loved him. And I couldn't let him destroy everything. This moment shakes the courtroom. Maya's words cast doubt on the prosecution's case, and the jury begins to question the narrative they've been fed. But there's one thing Sarah Drake knows for sure. Maya's confession isn't as innocent as it seems. The revelation, Vincent Hawke's involvement. Detective Sarah Drake, who has been carefully observing the trial from the back, decides to take a bold step. During a break in the proceedings, she makes a last-minute decision to call a surprise witness to the stand. Vincent Hawke himself. The courtroom gasps as Vincent Hawke is called to testify. He's calm, collected, and seemingly unfazed by the entire ordeal. But Sarah's questions catch him off guard. She starts by asking him about the remote access to the mansion's security system, which she traced back to a device in his possession. The prosecutor's eyes widen as Sarah lays out how Hawke had tampered with the security footage, deleting the key moments that could have shown his involvement in the crime. Vincent, you were the one who made sure no one would see you entering Richard's mansion the night he died. You wanted to make sure your own role in his murder was erased. Hawke's composure begins to crack. His calm demeanor falters. He tries to deny everything, but Sarah presses on, showing how he had manipulated both Maya and Lily, setting them up as the fall guys in a larger power struggle. The final twist, the truth comes to light in a climactic moment, as Vincent tries to backpedal on his confession. Jake Carter presents a final piece of evidence that shifts everything. A hidden ledger Richard had kept detailing the corrupt deals between Hawke, Maya, and other powerful figures. The ledger includes specific instructions to frame Lily Montgomery for his murder. Vincent's motives become clear. He killed Richard to take over his business empire, and he used Lily as a pawn in his scheme. Knowing her alibi would be weak, and the public would turn on her quickly, the courtroom erupts in a wave of murmurs as the truth comes out. Sarah Drake's investigation, Jake Carter's defense, and the damning evidence against Vincent Hawke have come together to form a narrative the jury can no longer ignore. The verdict, the jury deliberates. The weight of the evidence is undeniable. The public watches, their eyes glued to the screen. After what seems like an eternity, the foreman stands. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. Lily Montgomery breathes a heavy sigh of relief as the courtroom erupts in applause, but even as she is exonerated, the camera focuses on Sarah's face. Her job isn't done yet. The real mastermind, Vincent Hawke, is not yet in custody, and the case may be over, but the fight for justice continues. The final scene, in the closing moments, the camera zooms out on Sarah Drake walking down the courthouse steps, her face determined. The world may think the case is closed, but Sarah knows better. Justice isn't just about closing cases, it's about uncovering the truth, no matter where it leads. And Sarah's next case could be just as dangerous as the last. The screen fades to black. The moment of truth, the courtroom is on edge as Detective Sarah Drake, who's been watching the trial unfold from the back, rises slowly, her face filled with determination. Her presence shifts the atmosphere. The jury, the public, even the defense and prosecution can sense that something pivotal is about to happen. For weeks, Sarah has pieced together the puzzle. Vincent Hawke, Maya Goldstein, and Lily Montgomery were all part of a larger conspiracy. She's known this, but today she holds the final pieces of the puzzle, the undeniable truth that could shatter the defense's case and turn the tide in this high-stakes trial. The tipping point, Jake Carter, Lily's defense attorney, has just presented Maya Goldstein's confession and affair, blackmail, and corruption, but the room still feels divided. Maya's testimony, though shocking, doesn't fully unravel the mystery. The prosecution is still riding the wave of their initial case. Lily Montgomery was the killer. There's still doubt in the air, but Sarah knows there's more. The pieces of this twisted puzzle have never quite fit, and now she's about to put it all together. She steps forward confidently, addressing the court and calling for Vincent Hawke to testify. The unexpected witness, Vincent Hawke, the silent architect behind Richard Montgomery's death, sits in the back of the courtroom, stone-faced. He's been a shadowy figure throughout the trial, but until now, his involvement has been nothing more than suspicion. Now, Sarah's daring move to put him on the stand changes everything. He rises to take the stand. The courtroom is filled with tension. There's a cold, calculated look in his eyes. He's used to controlling the room, but Sarah is about to make him lose his grip. Sarah's strategic confrontation. Sarah begins with calm, calculated questions, her tone measured but firm. She starts by questioning Vincent's relationship with Richard Montgomery, the business dealings, the secret meetings. But Sarah knows that Vincent's real crime isn't just betrayal. It's something far more sinister. "Mr. Hawk," Sarah says, locking eyes with him. "You were the one who tampered with the security footage the night Richard Montgomery was murdered, weren't you?" There's a flicker of surprise in his eyes, but he quickly masks it with a smile, his voice smooth. "I don't know what you're talking about," Sarah continues, undeterred. She drops the bombshell. She's already traced the access logs to his personal device. Vincent Hawk had gained remote access to the mansion's security system just before the murder occurred. He had deleted crucial footage, including the moments leading up to the crime. "You made sure no one would see you enter Richard's home that night, didn't you?" Sarah presses. Vincent falters for a brief moment. His composed exterior begins to crack, but he tries to maintain control. The hidden ledger. This is the moment Sarah has been waiting for. She motions to the hidden ledger, an explosive piece of evidence she's been sitting on. The ledger, which Sarah recently uncovered, was Richard Montgomery's secret record of illegal business dealings. It details a massive money laundering operation, but more importantly, it has direct evidence of Vincent's involvement. The ledger lists Richard's dealings with Vincent and Maya, including specific transactions meant to silence anyone who might expose their network. Sarah looks directly at Vincent, her voice cold but authoritative. "This ledger was found hidden in Richard's office. Your name is on it. You were planning to take everything from Richard, and you knew exactly how to do it. You used Maya, you used Lily, and you manipulated every single person around you to frame an innocent woman." Vincent's eyes narrow, the facade completely slipping. He stares at Sarah, his lips tightening as the truth starts to unfold. The room is dead silent. The confession, unable to deny the mounting evidence. Vincent cracks. His smirk fades, replaced with a sneer of defeat. For the first time in this case, the manipulator is no longer in control. "Fine," Vincent mutters, his voice low but unmistakably bitter. "You've got me. I was the one who killed Richard. I had to. He was going to expose everything. I had to make sure he was gone before he ruined everything we built." The courtroom is in shock. Lily Montgomery had been framed for a murder she didn't commit, and Vincent Hawk was the mastermind behind it all. His confession is a twisted admission of guilt, and yet his motivations reveal even more corruption, money, power, and greed at the highest levels. Vincent's hand shakes slightly as he continues. "I knew I couldn't let Richard get away. His own plan for revenge would destroy everything I'd worked for. Maya, she was my partner in all of this. We had Richard right where we wanted him. And I made sure Lily would take the fall. She was a convenient scapegoat." The final twist, but Sarah is far from finished. The shocking twist comes when Sarah pulls out a final, crucial piece of evidence, an audio recording taken from the night of Richard's death. It's a secret recording Richard had made before his murder. In the recording, Richard's last words expose his suspicions of Vincent Hawk. He knew something was wrong, and he'd been planning to confront Vincent about the illegal dealings and the conspiracy to steal his empire. The final piece falls into place. Richard knew he was in danger, and he'd been preparing to expose Vincent and Maya, as well as their plans to control everything. His death was no accident. It was a calculated move to protect their criminal empire. The courtroom reaction. The room erupts in shock. The jury is stunned, and even the public watching from the outside can't believe what they've just heard. The truth has finally come to light. Jake Carter stands up, his face a mixture of disbelief and triumph. He looks over at Lily, who's in tears, her eyes wide with relief. The weight of the false accusations is lifting from her shoulders, but the damage to her life has already been done. Sarah Drake steps back, watching the chaos unfold. Her job isn't finished yet. There's still Vincent Hawk to arrest, and Maya Goldstein is still a threat. But for now, the truth has been uncovered. The verdict, As the jury deliberates, there's a heavy silence in the courtroom. They don't need much time. The evidence is overwhelming. The final verdict is delivered. Lily Montgomery is found not guilty. As the gavel slams down, the courtroom reacts. Lily stands, her body shaking with a mix of shock, relief, and exhaustion. She is free, but the battle for justice is far from over. The final scene, as the courtroom empties, Sarah Drake stands outside, staring at the horizon. The case is over, but the fight for truth continues. The screen zooms out, showing Sarah walking into the unknown. Knowing that she will always seek justice, no matter the cost, the camera lingers on Lily, standing outside the courthouse, free but broken by everything she's endured. She looks up, seeing Sarah walk away in the distance, both women forever changed by the twisted web of lies and murder they just untangled. The screen fades to black. The courtroom. The final moments. The courtroom is silent, almost suffocating. In its stillness, Lily Montgomery stands at the defendant's table, her hands trembling, her eyes locked on the jury. The truth is out, and the burden of the past few weeks, the media circus, and the suspicion has finally lifted from her shoulders, but she knows it's not over yet. Sarah Drake, standing at the back of the room, watches the proceedings with a quiet intensity. She knows that, even though Lily is about to be exonerated, the real battle is still ahead. But today, for this moment, justice is about to be served. The jury deliberates. The jury has been deliberating for over 2 hours. Their faces are solemn. As they return to the courtroom, the foreman stands up, looking at the judge before turning to face the jury. The air is thick with anticipation. All eyes are on him. As the foreman speaks, his voice is steady, but laced with the weight of the decision. We, the jury, find the defendant, Lily Montgomery, not guilty of all charges. Lily's moment of relief. The words hang in the air, as if the entire courtroom has held its breath. For a moment, time seems to stop. Lily Montgomery, whose life has been torn apart by a crime she didn't commit, finally exhales a deep, shaky breath. Tears flood her eyes as Jake Carter, her defense attorney, places a hand gently on her shoulder, giving her a comforting nod. He's been with her through the darkest days of the trial, and now, they've won. Lily stands frozen for a few seconds before she slowly steps away from the defendant's table. She doesn't need to say anything. The flood of emotions is too overwhelming. She turns to look at Sarah Drake, her eyes full of gratitude and disbelief. The courtroom erupts. The silence breaks with a wave of reactions. The media, the spectators, and the gallery of onlookers all erupting in a cacophony of applause, gasps, and relief sighs. Lily is free, but the celebration feels muted compared to the gravity of everything that has transpired. As she stands there, blinking back tears, her eyes slowly turn toward Vincent Hawk, seated across the room. The fallout, Hawk's arrest. Sarah Drake, standing near the door, watches as two police officers move swiftly toward Vincent Hawk, the true criminal mastermind behind it all. The weight of his arrogant demeanor has now shifted to a look of panic. He realizes that the consequences of his actions are inevitable. Vincent, unable to contain his anger and defeat, stands up abruptly, but the officers close in, placing him in handcuffs. The courtroom falls into a stunned silence once again. He is escorted out of the room, his every step a reminder that the true villain has finally been exposed. Maya's fate. As Vincent is taken away, Maya Goldstein watches from the gallery, her expression shifting from a feigned relief to a deep sense of guilt. Her plan has unraveled. Her involvement with Vincent in Richard's murder, the blackmail, and her part in framing Lily all now exposed, while Sarah had uncovered Vincent's culpability. Maya's role in the scheme remains a question. Her confession had been a strategic move, but it's clear she had been involved much deeper than she admitted. Maya's future is uncertain, but one thing is clear: her complicity will not be overlooked. Lily's release, a new beginning. Lily walks out of the courtroom, her shoulders slumped in exhaustion, but free. The cameras flash around her, and a sea of reporters surrounds her, asking questions, demanding statements. But she doesn't have the energy to respond. She's been through too much. Justice has been served, but it has come at a cost. Lily turns to Jake Carter, her defense lawyer, who smiles at her gently. "It's over," he says, the weight of the victory sinking in. Lily nods, the tears falling freely now, but with a sense of catharsis. It's finally over. Sarah's reflection. As the cameras continue to flash, Sarah Drake steps into the background. She's seen too many cases like this, the twists, the turns, the lies, the betrayal. But this one was different. For once, she can feel a sense of satisfaction in having uncovered the truth, no matter how much it hurt. She glances over at Lily, who is surrounded by reporters, finally beginning to feel the weight of freedom. Sarah knows it's not over, not for Lily, not for herself. The justice system is always flawed, always under threat from those who try to manipulate it. But for now, Sarah can rest knowing that the real killer Vincent Hawke is behind bars, and that Lily Montgomery has been exonerated. The final moments. Sarah's next step. Sarah Drake leaves the courthouse, her hand resting lightly on the doorknob as she glances over her shoulder. She knows this moment is temporary. There will always be another case, another twisted web of lies to untangle. But right now, for the first time in a long while, she allows herself a rare moment of peace. The camera follows her as she walks down the courthouse steps. The storm has passed, and the city around her feels quieter, almost peaceful. The sound of traffic, the distant murmur of people, all slowly fade as Sarah walks alone, the weight of her work heavy in her chest, but her resolve stronger than ever. The closing shot, the screen fades to black as Sarah's footsteps fade into the distance, leaving behind the courthouse, the case, and the people she's helped along the way. The music swells, reflective, hopeful, but tinged with the recognition that justice is never really done. There will always be more work, more challenges ahead. But for now, the battle is over. Justice has been served. Fade to black. And that's a wrap for today's case. Justice served, but the story's far from over. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more real-life twists and turns. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and keep seeking the truth.